Hello everyone, and welcome to my CBS Daily Update channel. Is a hero really a hero if they're saving a monster, or is this just the birth of a brand new nightmare in Genoa City? On this Thursday, May 21st episode of The Young and the Restless, we are witnessing a collision of two of the most fractured souls in soap history, and I have to ask you, was Patty's rescue of Matt Clark a moment of genuine redemption, or was it the first step in a calculated new obsession that will leave the Newmans and Abbotts in ruins? Let's set the stage here, because the air in Genoa City is thick with betrayal and desperate moves right now. Matt Clark, the man who was supposed to be dead, is not only alive but is walking around with a total memory wipe thanks to a literal blow to the head from Sienna. Meanwhile, Phyllis Summers, in her signature act first, think later style, has decided that the best way to handle an amnesiac villain is to knock him out and tie him up in his own hotel suite at the GCAC. Now, let's think about this for a second. Phyllis is acting out of pure, unadulterated fear because she knows that if Matt Clark ever recovers his memories, she is at the very top of his hit list. By restraining him, she's trying to pause time, but you and I both know that in the world of soaps, when you tie someone up, you're usually just setting the stage for their knight in shining armor to arrive. And in this case? That knight is carrying a lot of psychological baggage and a very sharp set of tools. Patty Williams is officially back in the driver's seat, and if you aren't terrified, you probably haven't been paying attention to her history. On Thursday, Patty pulls a classic move by bribing a GCAC housekeeper, played by Marcy Goldman, to get access to Matt's room. Why did Patty do this? Well, think about it. It's not just about being a good person. Patty thrives on being the only person someone can rely on. By freeing Matt from his literal bonds, she is creating a metaphorical bond that he, in his confused state, won't be able to break. Internally, Patty is likely feeling a rush of power that she hasn't felt since her days as Mary Jane Benson. She feels seen by Matt because he doesn't have the memories to judge her. To her, this isn't just a rescue, it's a first date. It's a rehabilitation performance. Patty is acting out the role of the savior because she desperately wants to believe she is one now. It's a mirror image of her relationship with Jack, but this time, the man she's helping doesn't have a lifetime of reasons to hate her yet. Honestly? I think Phyllis just handed Patty the keys to the kingdom. If Phyllis had just let Matt wander around being confused, he might have stayed harmless. But by making herself the villain of his current story, she has made Patty the undisputed hero. I have to say, I completely disagree with Phyllis's tactics here. They were short-sighted and practically begged for someone like Patty to intervene. This is a textbook case of Patty's savior complex, masking her deep-seated insecurity. She cannot exist in a vacuum, she needs an object of fixation to anchor her identity. With Jack Abbott constantly pushing her away, she has simply transferred that fixation energy onto Matt Clark because he is a blank slate she can write her own narrative onto. Roger Howarth is doing something brilliant here, and he's even gone on the record saying he's thrilled to be playing this version of Matt. But we have to look at the big question, is Matt really a different person? The amnesia serves as a reset button for the writers, but psychologically, it forces Matt to confront his intrinsic self. Even without his memories, he's still described as rude, self-centered, and smart. He hasn't changed, he's just lost his to-do list of revenge. Can you imagine the terror of being Matt Clark right now? You wake up, everyone looks at you like you're a monster, and you have no idea why. When he tells Patty he feels a unique connection or kinship with her, it's coming from a place of profound isolation. He is a man without a country, and Patty is the only person offering him a passport. I see this kinship as a really dangerous echo chamber. You have two people who have both been the villain of Genoa City, both claiming to be reformed, and both feeling like the world is out to get them. When they tell each other they are two halves of the same whole, they aren't just talking about romance, they are forming a pact against reality. I'm calling it now, this is the most toxic potential couple in the history of the show, and I am here for every second of it. We've seen Jack and Phyllis, we've seen Victor and Nikki, but we have never seen two people this fundamentally broken join forces in this specific way. It's a bold move by the writers, and I think it's exactly what the show needs to shake up the hero-slash-villain dynamic. Matt's ego is currently fragile, which makes him so susceptible to Patty's manipulation. He is experiencing a form of situational narcissism where he is so focused on his own identity crisis that he cannot see the red flags waving in front of Patty's face. He's not falling for Patty, he's falling for the reflection of himself she's showing him. While Patty is busy playing Florence Nightingale to a tied-up villain, Jack Abbott is busy making what the spoilers call a bad decision. After initially thinking he could use Patty as a weapon against Victor, he's having a change of heart. Why? Well, Jack is likely feeling the pressure from Kyle, who is rightfully terrified that Jack is playing with fire. But there's also the Diane factor. Jack gets a voicemail from Diane that makes him think their marriage can be saved. In Jack's mind, if he has Diane back, he doesn't need a crazy ex like Patty to do his dirty work. Jack is perpetually caught between his desire for revenge and his golden boy image. He feels a sense of guilt when it comes to Patty. Let's not forget he's the one who treated her so poorly years ago that she shot him 3 times. His change of heart is likely as much about self-preservation as it is about morality. I see Jack's move as the ultimate catalyst for Patty's full-blown descent into Matt's world. By dropping her now, he's confirming her worst fears, that she is only useful to him as a tool, not a human being. This rejection is the final push she needs to stop being Patty Abbott in her head and start being Patty and Matt. Honestly, Jack is being incredibly naive if he thinks he can just cancel his partnership with Patty without consequences. You don't invite Patty Williams into your revenge plot and then just show her the door. It's an insult to her intelligence and her history, and it's going to blow up in his face. Jack's behavior is driven by his hero complex. He wants to be the man who chooses love, Diane, over hate, revenge via Patty. However, his flip-flopping shows a massive lack of emotional intelligence regarding Patty's mental state. He's treating a woman with a history of extreme obsession like a business associate he can just lay off. Across town, Victor and Nikki are putting their differences aside to help Nick, who is spiraling out of control with a painkiller addiction. This is classic Newman behavior. Crisis brings them together, but control is what keeps them there. Victoria is the one who sounds the alarm. She knows Nick is lying about his meetings and his sobriety. Victor and Nikki are forced to unite because the Newman legacy is only as strong as its weakest link, and right now, Nick is falling apart under the weight of the Matt Clark chaos. For Nikki, this must be a nightmare recurring. She struggled with her own demons, and seeing her son go down this path while the man she loves, Victor, is busy playing chess with everyone's lives must be exhausting. There is a deep, weary sadness in the Newman house right now that no amount of money can fix. I interpret this unity as a tactical ceasefire rather than a genuine reconciliation. They are circling the wagons around Nick, but notice how they still aren't addressing the reason Nick is spiraling, which is Victor's constant manipulation and the return of a ghost from the past. It's a band-aid on a bullet wound. I actually find it fascinating that Victor thinks tough love is the answer here. Nick is a grown man being treated like a pawn, and Victor's aggression is likely what pushed him toward the pills in the first place. I agree with Victoria's decision to sound the alarm, but I disagree with the idea that Victor and Nikki, putting differences aside, will actually solve anything long-term. This is the Newman cycle of enabling and controlling. Victor's ego won't allow his son to fail because Nick's failure is a reflection of Victor's failure as a patriarch. Meanwhile, Nikki's maternal instinct is being used as a shield to hide the fact that the family is actually in a state of total dysfunction. Now, let's get back to that hotel room at the GCAC. Patty is untying Matt, and she has to explain to the maid why the man is bound and gagged. The funny thing is, Patty might actually claim she's spicing things up with her man. This is a brilliant bit of writing because it uses Patty's perceived craziness as a cover. In a town like Genoa City, a hotel maid is going to be far more likely to believe a kinky story than the truth, that a high-society woman like Phyllis Summers kidnapped a man in broad daylight. The irony here is that for a brief moment, Patty gets to live out her fantasy. She gets to tell a stranger that Matt is her man. Even if it's a lie for the sake of the rescue, it's a lie she wants to believe is true. This scene marks the transition of Matt from prisoner of Phyllis to prisoner of Patty's kindness. Being tied up with ropes is one thing, being tied up with gratitude and a shared sense of being an outsider is much harder to escape. The spicing things up line is going to be iconic, but let's be real, it's also chilling. It shows how easily Patty can pivot and manipulate the narrative to suit her needs. If I were Matt, the moment those ropes came off, I'd be running for the hills. But he's too confused to realize he's just traded one captor for another. This is gaslighting in its most benevolent-seeming form. Patty is creating a shared secret with Matt. Psychologically, shared secrets create instant intimacy, and for an amnesiac, that intimacy feels like a life raft. Things are about to get significantly worse for everyone involved. We have Jack Abbott about to deliver a rejection to Patty that will likely shatter her fragile rehabilitated ego. We have Phyllis, who is going to return to that hotel suite only to find her leverage gone and a very angry, very free Matt Clark. And we have a Newman family who is so focused on Nick that they are completely blindsided by the alliance forming in the shadows. The conflict isn't just about who Matt Clark is, it's about who Patty Williams becomes when she feels she has a mission again. We are looking at a full-scale war where the villains are the only ones being honest with each other. Looking ahead, I see a few major consequences. First, Patty and Matt are going to form a new Genoa City power couple that operates outside the laws of the Abbotts and Newmans. I predict Matt will start having flashbacks that Patty will intentionally misinterpret for him to keep him under her thumb. Jack is going to regret his change of heart when Patty uses her knowledge of his plans to help Matt dismantle Jabot. He thinks he's being safe, but he's actually just given Patty a reason to seek revenge. And Phyllis? She's going to be the target of a gaslighting campaign like she's never seen. Patty and Matt will likely use the amnesia to make Phyllis look like the crazy one, especially after the stunt she pulled at the GCAC. As for the Newmans, Nick's addiction is going to reach a breaking point right as Matt Clark makes his move. The family will be too distracted by Nick's health to notice that Matt is reclaiming his place in Genoa City. Now, I want to hear from you because this storyline is sparking a lot of debate. Do you believe Patty Williams is actually rehabilitated, or is she just rerouting her obsession? Can a person like Patty ever truly change, or is she destined to repeat the Mary Jane Benson cycle forever? And here's another one for you. If you were Matt Clark, and the only person who treated you with kindness was a woman the rest of the town calls a murderer, would you trust her, or would you trust the people who tied you up? This Thursday episode is shifting the entire landscape of The Young and the Restless, and we are only just scratching the surface of what Patty and Matt are capable of together. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the twisted psychology of Genoa City, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a spoiler breakdown. We're covering every twist, every turn, and every single bad decision Jack Abbott makes, so you definitely want to stay tuned. What do you think is Patty's endgame? Is it a wedding, or is it a funeral for everyone who ever doubted her? Let me know your theories in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. How will Phyllis react when she finds Matt is gone? Phyllis Summers thought she had finally found her ultimate golden ticket, but what happens when your only leverage has legs and a mind of its own? Was this just a simple security lapse, or has Phyllis finally met a player she just can't manipulate? Honestly, Genoa City is about to witness a total meltdown. The smartest person in the room just realized she's been locked out of her own game, and the silence in that hotel room is going to be deafening. To really understand the feral panic about to consume Phyllis, we have to look at the house of cards she's been building for weeks. She stashed an amnesiac Matt Clark in her hotel suite at the GCAC like he was a secret weapon she could keep on a shelf. In her head, Matt was the only thing standing between her and a prison cell. Think about it. Victor Newman has her backed into a corner with that fake AI evidence, and Christine is breathing down her neck. Phyllis didn't just hide a man, she hid her last bit of hope. And now? That hope has literally climbed out the window. When Phyllis walks into that empty suite this Thursday, May 21st, and sees those curtains blowing in the wind, it won't just be the draft making her shiver. It's the realization that her freedom just vanished into the night. The sheer weight of this is massive. She isn't just losing a captive, she is losing her only asset in a high-stakes deal with Nick Newman. In my opinion, this is the most vulnerable we have ever seen Phyllis. She spent so much time burning every bridge she had left that she's finally standing on an island all by herself. Internally, Phyllis is going to be feeling a mix of blinding rage and soul-crushing isolation. Just look at her recent choices. She fired her best friend and lawyer, Michael Baldwin. She basically told the only person who could truly help her to get lost. Why? Because her ego is so big she thinks she's the only one smart enough to save herself. But that ego has left her standing in an empty room with no plan B. She's not just panicking about Matt, she's panicking because for the first time, she's realized she might have finally lost her touch. Why did she act this way, though? Why leave a dangerous man like Matt alone with nothing but room service and a balcony? It's because she truly believed her own lies. She thought her little second chance pep talks were actually working on him. I see this as a classic case of her own narcissism. Phyllis saw herself in Matt's amnesia. She thought she could rewrite his story to fit her needs. But you can't put a leash on a hurricane, and Phyllis is about to learn that lesson in the hardest way possible. From a psychological standpoint, Phyllis is in total fight or flight mode right now, but the funny thing is, there's nowhere to run. Her identity is so tied up in her survival that losing Matt feels like a literal death sentence. She's been lashing out at everyone, from Christine to Michael, because it's easier to be angry than to admit she's terrified. Honestly, her reaction to the empty room is going to be feral. I wouldn't be surprised if she interrogates the housekeeping staff with an intensity that borders on the unhinged. The irony here is just delicious. While Phyllis was out trying to negotiate the deal of the century with Nick, her rival Patty Williams was busy bribing a maid to get into that room. Phyllis totally underestimated Patty's obsession. She thought Patty was just some crazy ex she could sideline, but Patty did the one thing Phyllis couldn't. She reached Matt on an emotional level. While Phyllis was using Matt as a bargaining chip, Patty was treating him like a human being. It's a complete role reversal that Phyllis never saw coming. I completely agree with the idea that Phyllis has finally hit a wall. She spent weeks screaming at walls and pushing her allies away, and now the walls are finally closing in. If Victor finds Matt first, her deal with Nick is dead. Victor will use Matt to destroy her, and she knows it. The tension is at an all-time high because Phyllis is now forced to hit the streets in a pair of expensive heels, desperately hunting a guy who is a master of disappearing. The escalation here is going to be brutal. Nick is already spiraling back into his addiction. He's holding on to this deal with Phyllis like it's a life raft. If Phyllis has to tell him she lost Matt, it might be the final push that sends Nick over the edge. We're talking about massive collateral damage. One open window in a hotel room is about to shake the entire foundation of the Newman and Abbott families. So, what's the move? My prediction is that Phyllis will try to cover up the disappearance for as long as she can. She'll probably try to gaslight Nick or Michael into thinking Matt is still secure while she frantically scours every alley in Genoa City. But Patty and Matt are forming this toxic power couple alliance that's going to be impossible to hide. I think we are heading toward a scenario where Matt starts having flashbacks that are carefully curated by Patty. She's going to make Phyllis look like the true villain of the story, and Matt won't know any better. The consequences for Phyllis are going to be life-altering. Without Matt, she has zero leverage. Victor will crush her. Her company will be stripped away. Christine will finally get the satisfaction of seeing her behind bars. It's a complete and utter catastrophe for Red, and for once, she doesn't have a weapon to fire back. She's betting her entire future on finding a guy who has no intention of being found by her. Now, I really want to hear from you guys because this twist is just too good. If you were in Phyllis's shoes, would you have trusted your own instincts over a pro like Michael Baldwin? Was firing him the move that ultimately sealed her fate? And tell me this, is Phyllis actually the villain here, or is she just a survivor who got outplayed by a more dangerous kind of rehabilitated crazy in Patty Williams? The fallout from that open window is going to shake Genoa City to its very core. We are in for a wild ride as this cat-and-mouse game shifts into high gear. Will Phyllis find her golden ticket before Victor's security team rolls up, or is this the end of the line for the woman who thought she could never be beaten? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the absolute madness happening with Phyllis and Matt Clark, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a single spoiler breakdown. We're tracking every twist, every turn, and every single one of Jack Abbott's bad decisions as they happen. What's your theory on where Matt went? Is he watching Phyllis from across the street right now, just laughing at her panic? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.